Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died. When
was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's the man. Like, remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Well, I think she died because she had 1,000 plastic surgeries.
Michelle thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To the women.
Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld just unleashed a no-holds-barred takedown of Michelle Obama that left her carefully crafted image in smoldering ruins. With razor-sharp wit and zero fear, they tore through the hype, the brand, and the bulletproof media armor surrounding her. From the curated victimhood to the royal-level reverence, nothing was safe. If you ever question the cult-like praise or wonder what's behind the polished smile, this fiery roast delivers the brutal truth you weren't supposed to hear.
Jamie, there's a video of her and she's walking into her apartment building.
That right here. I just was playing the one that.
That's it. This is the one.
Or first woman
we
president.
already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty funny how she said it.
Okay, we all know it.
These choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
Joe Rogan didn't need a red carpet moment to decide it was time to go after Michelle Obama. It wasn't personal, it was theatrical. She had stepped onto the national stage again, like a diva returning for an encore, and Joe couldn't help himself. It was like watching someone rehearse for a presidency in a yoga mirror. And Joe, he saw a golden opportunity wrapped in curated victimhood and organic kale.
That Tim Dillon's video where he was saying that Michelle Obama should run for president. If she won, she could pull her cock out and China would just give up. I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Are you enjoying this video? Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. He started slow, like a lion stretching before chase. He didn't need to roar. Just a slight grin, a sip of something strong, and a head shake that said, this is going to be fun. Michelle Obama, in his view, wasn't just a political figure. She was a brand, a product, an algorithm, a high-end motivational speaker disguised as a revolutionary. Joe went on how every public appearance felt like a TED Talk merged with a Lululemon commercial. There wasn't policy, there was posture. Not leadership, but lifestyle.
Even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind, Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally old enough to vote.
He described her Netflix specials, podcast launches, and stadium tours as the greatest rebranding campaign in political history. According to Joe, the former First Lady wasn't just dipping her toes back into public life. She was launching a whole new season of her political show. She was a walking hashtag, a curated blend of inspirational quotes and polished discontent. Joe said she had the uncanny ability to talk about struggle from the plush comfort of a multi-million-dollar estate.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as Like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
I mean, and he wasn't done. Joe aimed at her constant messaging about hardship and adversity while being one of the most privileged women in modern America. He painted it like watching a duchess give a TED Talk on how hard it is to be fabulous. According to Joe, her idea of trauma involved bad lighting at a book signing. And the media, they ate it up. They cheered every sentence like it was a Gettysburg Address wrapped in kale chips.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it.
Joe started warming up, building a rhythm. He pointed out the absurdity of someone who lived in the White House for 8 years and then turned around to write a memoir about being unseen. He said Michelle was the only person who could complain about being marginalized while trending on every platform for 3 weeks straight. He compared her to an Olympic torch, constantly carried by a fawning press, never extinguished, always a symbol of movement she didn't really suffer from. Then came the culture stuff. Joe loved this part. He dove into her lectures on food, exercise, and self-discipline. He said her obsession with kale bordered on a moral crusade, like broccoli could solve systemic injustice. He joked that under Michelle's leadership, kids weren't eating healthier. They were smuggling candy like it was contraband. Her school lunch program wasn't a revolution. It was a nationwide hunger strike on beige trays. Joe roasted the self-righteousness, the way she wielded her public image like a yoga mat of virtue. It wasn't enough to be powerful. She had to be profound, not just influential, but sacred. She couldn't just sell books. She had to sell herself as the conscience of the country. And Joe found that hilarious. According to him, every sentence was loaded with the weight of 1,000 think pieces. Every nod felt rehearsed. Every smile was camera ready. She wasn't a human being. She was a brand awareness campaign in sneakers.
See everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica.
Then Greg Gutfeld entered the arena. Greg didn't just mock Michelle Obama. He picked her public persona apart like a cat with a new toy. He didn't attack her existence. He attacked the sanctimony, the aura, the political deodorant that made her immune to criticism. To Gutfeld, Michelle wasn't just a former first lady. She was the untouchable goddess of progressive fantasy. And he was ready to torch the altar. He began with her constant need to narrate the American experience from a throne of victimhood. According to Gutfeld, Michelle Obama had turned grievance into a genre. He described her speeches as a mix of therapy sessions and campaign rallies where the underlying message was always the same. America is hard, even for me. And Greg laughed because in his words, if being a best-selling author, Ivy League grad, and political icon is enough, then what is? He mocked how the media treated her like a religious icon, how every word she said was treated like it had been etched into a sacred scroll. He said if Michelle ever tripped on a step, CNN would run a segment on the metaphorical weight of oppression. She couldn't just be wrong. She had to be misunderstood. She couldn't be critiqued, only uplifted. Gutfeld rolled his eyes and said it was a kind of armor only celebrities and royals get to wear.
Michelle Obama has openly admitted that she and Barack sleep in separate bedrooms. Here's how it works. She sleeps downstairs, and he likes men. Chinning. The weather. Let's do a monologue. Michelle Obama's new podcast is off to a slow start, ranked at number 34 on Spotify. In her defense, most people don't like her.
Then he got to her activism. Greg roasted at performance art, soaked in soft lighting and subtle manipulation. He claimed that every cause Michelle championed came with a designer logo and a carefully filtered Instagram post. According to him, she wasn't changing the world. She was branding it. Gutfeld said real activism doesn't come with a publicist and a Spotify playlist. It comes with dirt, sweat, and risk. And Michelle, in his opinion, had never truly risked anything. Not politically, not socially, not economically. Greg even went in on her memoirs. He said reading them felt like being cornered at a cocktail party by someone who wanted to teach you about resilience while holding a glass of $400 wine. Every chapter was dripping in polished nostalgia and humble brags disguised as struggle. As Gutfeld said, Michelle had mastered the art of emotional inflation, where every moment of discomfort was turned into a defining trauma. He also hit hard on her image as the real one, the down-to-earth contrast to all things fake. Greg said Michelle was about as down-to-earth as a SpaceX prototype. Her relatability was constructed, focus grouped, and media tested. She wasn't just real, she was professionally relatable. And when someone has that much money, influence, and control over their image, Gutfeld argued they stop being relatable and start being a performance. Then came the punch. Greg questioned the carefully timed flirtation with national politics, the whispers, the speeches, the strategic appearances. It wasn't random, he claimed. It was a soft launch campaign. She was testing the waters, laying the groundwork, and doing it all while pretending to be above the political fray. Gutfeld called it the most glamorous sneak attack in American political history. And he warned, if you didn't see it coming, you weren't paying attention.
Rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
He said Michelle Obama was the left's ultimate fantasy candidate, not because of her policies, but because of her aura, the smile, the tone, the narrative. She could sell a platform without defining it, promise hope without delivering a roadmap. It wasn't about what she stood for, it was about how she made people feel. And in Gutfeld's eyes, that wasn't leadership, that was marketing. Joe came back in with the body blows. He compared her to a self-help guru with a Secret Service detail. He said she'd mastered the art of saying everything and nothing at once, that she gave speeches that could be used in any era, for any cause, without ever committing to a clear position. It was like trying to grab fog in a Gucci jacket. He said Michelle wasn't dangerous because of what she said, but because of what people refused to say about her. She was treated like a saint in a society that needed skeptics, not cheerleaders. According to Joe, Michelle wasn't bulletproof because of her record. She was bulletproof because people were afraid to ask hard questions.
Being married to the president of the United States thing,
yeah,
that none of us kind of banked on. I mean, we knew Barack was smart and, ambitious, but, I think, but you talked me into supporting his run.
I did.
Because I was definitely like, nope, no way, this is crazy. We've done enough crazy stuff.
That's right.
Then Greg Gutfeld delivered his final cuts. He said Michelle Obama was a human version of political mood board. Inspirational, attractive, well-phrased, and completely non-threatening, until she wasn't. Gutfeld warned that behind the grace and charisma was a sharpened blade of ideology wrapped in silk. Not obvious, not overt, but real, where Michelle wouldn't have to answer. Only appear, smile, evade, shine. It wouldn't be a campaign. It would be a coronation wrapped in a sob story. Joe nodded in his own segment, agreeing that the problem wasn't Michelle Obama. It was the inability to criticize her without being branded a villain. That kind of power in the hands of anyone, he argued, was dangerous, not because they'd abuse it, but because they'd never be held accountable if they did.
It was the one thing that the girls would do at Barack, was to go stand next to him when he pardoned this turkey.
Yes.
And it was cute when they were little, but as they got older, you could see on their faces in the shots of them thinking, I would just poke my eyes out. Just right now, just get me out of here. I'm standing with my father telling these stupid jokes, next to a turkey.
Together, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld didn't just roast Michelle Obama. They dissected her myth. They cracked open the image, exposed the machinery, and laid bare the theater behind the grace. They didn't deny her charm or accomplishments. They simply refused to let those things shield her from scrutiny. Michelle Obama wasn't just a former First Lady. Joe Rogan leaned in harder, pointing out the weird irony that Michelle Obama, with all her accolades, still positioned herself as the underdog. He said it was like watching the winner of a marathon complain they didn't get enough applause at the finish line. The narrative of being constantly underestimated had turned into a repetitive chant. Even though she had the media, Hollywood, academia, and publishing wrapped around her perfectly manicured finger, he mocked how every time Michelle stepped into the spotlight, it was treated like a cultural awakening. Rogan compared it to the crowd at a UFC fight cheering a yoga instructor for shadowboxing.
I will not run for president.
Yeah, I've heard you say I think Michelle should run.
She could win. She could win, I think. I think if she ran, she could win.
Do you ever run for office?
No.
I have to ask it.
No.
No kind of office?
No.
I don't think she wants that, though.
No,
I don't think
guess.
she wants that in her life.
Just-
The that they dealt with over the 8 years when he was president?
Because I've got these 2 young people at home. Being the kids, the daughters of a president, just think about it. Not so easy.
That job for anybody that really good at it.
Yeah, I trust the person who doesn't want the job more than the person who wants the job.
It's not something that I'm interested in or would ever do, ever.
According to him, the drama wasn't in what she was saying, it was in how deeply people want to be inspired. Even when the substance was as fluffy as an overpriced wellness podcast, Gutfeld chimed back with vengeance. He said Michelle had become the ultimate political safety net, a figure you couldn't criticize without triggering a national meltdown. Together, they laughed at how Michelle could casually hint at a presidential run, and journalists would start hyperventilating like a royal baby had been born. To them, the idea of her as president wasn't far-fetched. It was the most obvious slow-motion unveiling in political history. But if the crown was coming, they were determined to remind the public that beneath the glittering image, there was a real person who needed real scrutiny just like everyone else.